Hello everyone, my name is Dzevlan and I'm DevOps lead at Tech company. Also, I'm working as a part of product engineering team for one of the 5 major advertising platforms in the world. To give you a brief overview on which scale I'm working on, I will tell you that the monthly bill for the AWS account for which I'm responsible, it's more than $2 million per month. So it's a really big number of EC2 instances. Beside that, I really enjoy to be involved into AWS community. I'm AWS user group leader in Bosnia. So that's it. I forgot to put on the slides, but you can find me on Twitter using handle SQL Heisenberg, or feel free to find me on LinkedIn. Let me see why I can't switch. Okay, thank you. So today I would like to talk to you about DevSecOps. Here's the agenda. These few bullets we will go through today. Why is this something we talk about with cloud, security as a code, how to enforce security inside AWS, and security culture. So first of all, what is DevOps? Today, you will probably be able to hear a bunch of different buzzwords regarding security, SecDevOps, DevSecOps, but it's not important how do you call it. What is important is to implement already known security principles from the on-premises infrastructure into development and operations flow in your organization. And then after that, you will have DevSecOps. So, let's say a few words about AWS security principles. AWS security is based on the shared responsibility model, where AWS is responsible for the base AWS infrastructure, AWS availability zones, regions, edge locations. So you don't need to worry that who has access to the servers in data center, but you need to worry about updates of your system, updates for your operating system. You need to worry about network traffic protection, encryption, and so on and so on. When we are talking about goals of DevSecOps, first what we want to have is full security control, which means to be able to detect vulnerabilities inside our system, to have properly alerts on them, and then to have automated responses. Also, we don't want to have security as a blocker inside our organization. Often, we all looking at security as something which we have to implement, but we don't like to do. DevSecOps we want to change that with DevSecOps approach. So we need to promote, we want to promote culture that culture of security as a service, where security is everyone's responsibility inside the organization. And also we want to have security which is able to scale. As we are already inside cloud environment where we have resources which are able to scale, we want to have security which is able to scale together with our resources. To accomplish that, we need to implement security inside our development processes. And what is more important from my point of view, and that's already mentioned on the previous sessions, that we have our infrastructure from AWS written as a code. So infrastructure as a service. We will explain later why is that important. So, infrastructure as a code. Infrastructure as a code, beside that we have option to deploy our, infrastructure inside AWS using Terraform, CloudFormation, or some other tool. Also, we have source of truth on GitHub, where we are able to see who made changes and which changes they made. Beside that, thanks to infrastructure as a code, we are able to split responsibility. So someone is responsible for the security group, others are responsible for IAM roles, etc. Runtime security means that we have options to tag our resources inside AWS Cloud, and then after we notice that one of our resources is exploited, we have option to isolate that resource and then terminate it. Thanks to immutable infrastructure, which is accomplished with infrastructure as a code, we don't want to SSH into our servers and make changes or install updates or research vulnerabilities. We want to terminate those instances which are exploited and then to spin up new thanks to infrastructure as a code. Also, elastic security automation means that we are able to integrate different kind of the hooks inside our DevOps flow. AWS has several tools which enable us to implement DevSecOps. First of them, and from my point of view, which is the most important, is Lambda, because if you want to execute some code inside AWS, you will use Lambda. Lambda is excellent to be able to be invoked by some kind of the alert or to be triggered and then to make some actions. On that way, you are able to accomplish automated responses to some kind of the vulnerabilities or exploitations inside your AWS. Also, you have different services to track changes inside your AWS, and also to stick under different compliance rules. So there is AWS config service which enables you to define different kind of security rules and then to force your organization and user to accomplish those rules through your AWS account. Also, there are CloudWatch events where you can stream those events into CloudWatch streams and there make the queries against those logs and find different kind of vulnerabilities inside your organization. CloudTrail is also one of the most important services when it comes to the security, because it's like cameras, surveillance cameras for your AWS account. Let's say that you have user inside your organization which terminate one of your CloudFormation stacks. You will go inside AWS CloudTrail, and there you are able to find out which user did that, at which time, and so on. And then you can go and talk with that user and find out did he left his AWS console open so that someone else made changes inside AWS, or he did it. Okay, and when you have tracking and execution with Lambda, you also want to be alerted. Probably inside your organization you have Ops Genie, PagerDuty, or similar kinds of apps, but there is also Amazon Simple Notification Service, which enables you to send notifications to your security team. Thanks to AWS Marketplace, you can integrate different services available on the marketplace, which you probably used before inside on-prem data centers. Okay, on the following diagram, you can see the anatomy of the security automation. So, first, you see this green. This is how do you react and what do you do when the event occurs. So first, you have options to react on the event, to trigger some code with Lambda, and then to enable to learn about what's happened inside your AWS account. By that I mean to analyze your logs, to send it to the security team for the forensics, etc. Also, you have this yellow part is to execute some actions against vulnerabilities inside your AWS account. For example, you can terminate your EC2 instance, you can delete some user, but you need to keep in mind that that kind of actions can have consequences for the costs. Because if your EC2 instance on which you are running one of your important services is exploited and you have to terminate it, maybe you will have your application down and then you will have some costs because of that. Now, when we mention different AWS services, let's see how we can use them. For example, there is Amazon Messi service, which is service which enables to use different machine learning algorithms to analyze your data inside S3. So it will recognize vulnerabilities and also which kind of data you exposed, and you maybe don't want to do that. Also, there is AWS CloudTrail, which we already mentioned, and all of those events you are sending to CloudWatch events, and then using Amazon SNS service, you notify Lambda to execute some action. Okay, on the following diagram, we see one user of AWS. That user can use AWS console or AWS API to talk with AWS services, and then based on how your user is using AWS, you can send his logs from AWS CloudTrail to S3 bucket, and then use, for example, Amazon Athena to query those logs inside Amazon S3 bucket, and then find out different kind of inappropriate actions inside the AWS account. Also, you can have real-time actions thanks to Amazon CloudWatch events and Lambda, where Lambda is invoked by some kind of CloudWatch event, and then that event, AWS Lambda will execute some action, which can be to send notification to your software as a service tool, which you bring from the marketplace, or via Amazon SNS to send notification to your security team. Okay, what I would like to mention regarding AWS CloudTrail service is I want to point once more how it is important. Especially, it's important in the regions which you don't use occasionally. Let's say you have all of your resources inside EU Central one region, and it's good to have AWS CloudTrail enabled in all regions and to check sometimes in other regions what's happening in them. Do you have some unwanted actions, etc. Okay, so where do you want to have security authentication? Basically, first you want to have it inside your CI/CD pipeline. On this diagram, you are able to see classic CI/CD pipeline used by most of the dev teams. So developer is pushing his changes to version control system, then those changes are built via CI server, probably some Jenkins, and then if you have some packages built, you will push those packages to Artifactory repo, and then you can generate some CloudFormation resources, and then deploy those resources, and then release your changes to dev, staging, or production environment. When you saw a diagram like this, you need to think about opportunities to improve security. So where can you make changes to increase security inside your organization? Well, first of all, you want to prevent any kind of unwanted commits to your version control system. If you are using GitHub, and you will find one small directory called GitHub secrets, Git secrets, which is basically a regular expression which will prevent users, developers, to push AWS credentials to version control system. So that's the first step, to prevent developers to push their credentials to version control by implementing Git hooks. Even if developers push their credentials, AWS access key and secret access key to version control, you will receive email from AWS, and then you are in danger that your account can be turned off or terminated. After your changes are on the GitHub or version control system, they are pulled by CI server. There you will probably execute some kind of tests. Then you need to think about what kind of the security tests you can integrate on your build server to check stuff. After you finish with building your code, you will send packages to the Artifactory repo. You want to validate those artifacts. And then developers have their logs inside CI/CD so that they are able to check for the failing builds and etc. But also you want to have logs for the security to see what is happening inside CI/CD pipeline. Okay, so for the control and validate, what you need to do is to benchmark your infrastructure to have your base point, which rules you need to accomplish, to think about some kind of the framework which you want inside your organization. Then to action before something is occurred, so pre-event, and of course when it's possible. Also post-event, you always want to react on the events inside your AWS account, and to trigger to have automated that based on different kinds of the events inside the AWS account. Okay, so where can you go next from here? There are different kinds of the open source tools and the configurability rules which you can research and implement inside your organization, but my suggestion is to start from the AWS security and AWS blog. From there, you can see different approaches how to improve security inside your organization. Also, there is, for me, it's one of the most interesting tools is this Netflix Security Monkey, which have different kind of, which monitors your policy and alerts and insecure configurations inside AWS account. Okay, I forgot to put a Q&A slide, so please feel free to ask questions and to say what you have. Just note, please pick up the microphone, because sessions are recorded.
Hello.
Hi.
Can you tell me something about how you manage IAM credentials and policies and for the overall security for the AWS account and access to different part of services?
By that you mean, do we have AWS credentials on our EC2 instances? No, big no, because you don't want to store credentials on your EC2 instances. There you want to use IAM roles, which will be attached to your service, and then by that you have opportunity to allow to granular your permissions and have an options to define strict policy which service can access which resources inside your AWS account.
But how do you test the fine graining if it exists?
For that you can use CloudFormation template, and then from the under development cycle of your CI/CD, after you deploy your IAM role policy by CloudFormation, then you can test under dev environment. Also, there is a service like AWS Secret Manager, which can be used to store secrets, and also one interesting approach is to use Amazon KMS service together with DynamoDB to retrieve credentials. I hope that I answered your question.
Thank you. So, in case you need to expose API in the AWS, what is the recommendation of secure API?
Well, if you need to, you can use API gateway inside AWS to have that securely exposed because they are not really using HTTPS endpoints. So my recommendation would be first try if you can go with AWS service, which is in this case API gateway, and then if not, you need to accomplish security rules like secure endpoint, etc. by the custom APIs. Anyone else? Then, if not,
Okay.
I hope you are satisfied with my session. Feel free to reach out to me outside or on Twitter or LinkedIn. It will be my pleasure to talk with you. Thank you all.